Part 1, The Minute That Vanished. Dear learner, welcome. May this story meet you like warm light at the end of a long day. If learning English sometimes feels heavy, let this tale carry you forward gently. Remember to subscribe if stories help you grow. This is Learn English Through Story. Watch until the end to see what truth rises from fog. At 2:07 a.m., the town clock skipped a beat. No one heard it, except a quiet boy named Elias, alone on the moonlit bridge, counting the chimes as if they were steps across a river. 12, 1, 2, and then a hesitation, a small silence soft as moth wings, followed by a hurry clang 3. His breath clouded in the cold. His fingers tightened around a folded letter. The bridge hummed with the dark water underneath, and the night felt like a house holding its breath. He glanced toward the clock tower on Willow Square. Its gilded hands shone with a patient glow, but the rhythm was wrong. Something had fallen out of place, like a book slipping from a careful shelf. Elias was no watchmaker, no scientist, yet the skip press against his chest the way a wrong note disturbed the song. He unfolded the letter and ran a thumb along its edge. The envelope wore 3 words in a neat, unfamiliar hand. Return what's missing. He did not know who had sent it. The postmark was smudged. The paper smelled faintly of ink and lilacs. Inside lay a single silver key with teeth shaped like a star, and below it a sentence. When a minute vanishes, follow the birds. That was all. No signature, no map, no apology, only an order dressed as a whisper. Downriver, reeds shook in a wind that hadn't arrived yet. A feather drifted past his shoe, white clean, almost luminous. Then another feather, and another, falling like slow snow. He looked up. The sky was empty, yet the feathers kept appearing, spinning gently, landing on the bridge rail and the cold iron lamp. He gathered one by reflex. It was warm. He thought of his mother asleep, of the notice pinned to the kitchen wall. The one from the landlord, the one that turned home into a countdown. He thought of the closed violin case on top of his wardrobe and of the promise he had broken to himself. To play again when fear loosened. Fear had not loosened, but the clock had, and the letter said follow. More silence. Not normal silence, but shaped silence, as if the town were a bell jar and someone had lifted it, letting out the old air and sealing in something new. The silver key gleamed at his palm. Birds. Where? A shadow slid over the cobblestones of the square, quick and graceful. He ran, breath-breaking, shoes kissing the frost. He turned the corner by the bakery and felt the heat of its resting ovens. Another feather lay on the step, shining faintly blue. A crow watched him from a drain pipe, head tilted. Then it flew, low and steady, toward the tower door that no one used, sealed since the city archive burned years ago. The crow settled on the handle, pecked twice, and waited. Elias approached, heart an echo. The handle was cold as a coin buried in snow. He raised the star-toothed key. It matched the lock like a memory finding its place. Return what's missing, the letter had said. He fit the key into the door. The clock above them paused, as if listening. The lock turned with a patient click. Warm wind spilled from the dark like breath from a sleeping giant, carrying scents he did not know. Rain on distant stone, citrus peels, chalk dust, and a sweetness like candle smoke. The crow hopped inside, not afraid. Elias followed, pulling the door closed behind him. Outside, the tower's hands trembled. Inside, a stair waited, spiraling up and down, vanishing into soft amber light. Part 2, the stair that led both ways. The stair spiraled like a question mark written in stone. Upward it reached into gold light. Downward it sank into velvet dark. Elias stood at the fork, key still warm in his palm, and wondered, was the message calling him to rise or descend? The crow hopped twice toward the lower path, then stopped, tilting its head as if waiting for his courage. Elias touched the wall. It pulsed faintly, as though the tower itself had veins. He swallowed and stepped downward. Each step exhaled a memory, not his own. At first, the air smelled of chalk and damp books, as if children had studied here long ago. Then it shifted to the salt of the sea, waves breaking against cliffs unseen. Shadows along the wall flickered into shapes. People crossing bridges, planting trees, playing violins, and vanished before he could breathe them in fully. Halfway down, the silence cracked. A low ticking filled the stairwell, slower than the tower's usual rhythm. The crow fluttered onto the rail. Its feathers shimmered in the half-light, and Elias saw that each feather bore faint markings. Tiny words written in no language he knew. He reached the bottom. Before him stretched a hall where time itself seemed undecided. Candles burned with steady flames, yet their wax climbed upward instead of falling down. Hourglasses stood on pedestals, their sand flowing not from top to bottom, but both ways, rising and falling at once. In the center of the hall, a circle of mirrors faced inward like a council of silent judges. He stepped closer. Each mirror reflected not his face, but different boy. One slightly older, one thinner, one stronger, one holding a violin under his chin. Some looked at him with hope, others with disappointment. One pressed a hand to the glass, as if pleading. The crow croaked once, sharp, then hopped into circle. Elias followed, his breath shallow. The moment his foot touched the inner ring, the mirrors rippled like water. The boy with the violin began to play, though no sound reached his ears. The one who looked older mouthed words he could not hear. The smallest boy, perhaps 7, lifted the silver key, identical to the one in Elias's hand, and pointed at a locked chest that rested in the center of the circle. The chest was wooden, carved with constellations, its lock glowing faintly blue. Elias knelt, trembling, and fit the star-toothed key inside. The chest opened with a sigh, as if relieved to be found. Inside lay a minute, not a watch, not a clock hand, but an actual minute, shimmering like liquid silver, pulsing as though alive. It floated gently in the air, radiating warmth. The missing minute, the one the clock tower had lost. As he reached out, the crow spread its wings and cried, a sound both warning and blessing. The silver light touched his skin and visions poured into him. Trains waiting too long on platforms, letters never delivered, hearts missing their moments to meet. All because of this vanished fragment of time. Elias staggered back. If he returned a minute, the town would be whole again. But deep inside, he felt something dangerous. Whoever had taken the minute had not done so by accident, and whoever had sent the letter wanted more than just repair. The walls whispered, the candles bent inward. The minute hovered, waiting for his choice. Upstairs, the tower clock groaned. Would he return what was missing, or discover why it was taken? Part 3. The Keeper of Lost Moments. The minute pulsed in Elias's hand like a living star, warm but heavy. He thought returning it to the tower would fix everything. Yet the silence around him whispered otherwise. The hall seemed to breathe, its walls swelling with shadows of people he did not know, but somehow recognized. Then a voice, soft yet resonant, rose from behind the mirrors. "You found it sooner than I expected." Elias spun. A figure stepped out, cloaked in deep blue, embroidered with faint constellations. The face was pale, neither young nor old, eyes reflecting the shifting light of the hourglasses. The crow bowed its head toward the figure, as if in respect. "Who are you?" Elias asked, clutching the silver key like a weapon. The figure inclined its head. "Names are fragile things. I am called many things, guardian, keeper, thief, depending on who is telling the story. You may call me the Keeper of Lost Moments." Elias's pulse raced. "Did you steal this minute from the tower?" The keeper's lips curved into a faint smile. "Stolen? No. Rescued. That clock above, that proud machine of brass and iron, cares nothing for the souls beneath it. Every minute ticks, whether a boy is ready or not, whether a girl is still waiting on the corner, whether a promise is just about to be kept. Time is merciless. I rescue what it wastes." The mirrors around them shimmered, each now showing scenes frozen in unfinished time. A girl reaching out to hold someone's hand just before he walked away. A father at a station missing the last glance of his child. A musician dropping his bow before the first note. "These," the keeper said softly, "are moments the world abandoned. I saved them." Elias shook his head. But the town, the people, they felt the missing chime. "Something is broken." "Yes," the keeper agreed, stepping closer. "And something was broken long before I touched the tower." "Tell me." Elias, when was the last time you played your violin? The question struck like lightning. His throat tightened. He saw, unbidden, the dusty case on his wardrobe, the promises to himself he had never kept. The keeper's eyes softened. You understand, then, a minute is not just a piece of time. It is a chance. The tower believes every chance must pass. I do not. I keep them here, safe, waiting for those brave enough to claim them. Elias stared at the glowing minute. It felt alive, aching to return, yet also pleading to be used. Why me? Why send me the letter? The keeper lifted a hand. The crow flew to his wrist, feathers glimmering with hidden words. Because you heard what no one else heard. The skip chime. You noticed. The world is blind to what it wastes, but not you. That is why I chose you. The word sank like stones into Elias's chest. Chosen, not by chance, but by design. The keeper extended a hand toward the hovering silver light. You may return to the clock, and life will continue unbroken, as though nothing happened. Or, he paused, eyes burning like twin lanterns. You may claim it, use it, rewrite one moment you lost, one regret undone. The air thickened. The mirrors quivered, each showing Elias himself, walking away from stage, letting Leah's letter yell on the table, turning down calls, silencing the violin inside him. The crow cawed once sharp, as though urging caution. Elias's hand trembled over the glowing minute. One choice meant safety for the town. The other meant rewriting the story of his own life. The keeper's voice dropped to a whisper. Return what's missing or take what was denied. The minute spun, bright as a fallen star, waiting. Part 4 of the bargain of time. The silver minute floated between Elias and the keeper, glowing brighter with every heartbeat. It was no longer a fragment of time. It was temptation itself. The mirrors around the circle trembled, throwing light and shadow across Elias's face. One showed him walking into a concert hall at 15, violin trembling in his hand before he turned away. Another displayed the moment his father's tired voice asked him to play again, and he had mumbled excuses instead. Each reflection stung like salt on wounds he had long tried to bury. The keeper's eyes glowed faintly. One choice, Elias. Return the minute, and the town will forget its absence. Take it, and you may place it anywhere in your past. Undo a mistake. Relive what was stolen from you. Elias clutched the key so tightly the teeth dug into his palm. If I take it, what happens to the town? The keeper tilted his head. Time will shudder. A seam will split. Perhaps they will notice. Perhaps they will not. The world is resilient, but it always remembers the theft of its own breath. The crow shifted restlessly on the keeper's arm, feathers bristling. Elias caught the glint of words shimmering across its wings. Choose carefully. His voice cracked as he whispered, and if I return it, then the tower mends. The chime will flow again. People will meet when they are meant to. Letters will arrive on time. But you will never reclaim your mischance. You will remain the boy who almost played, almost stayed, almost tried. The silence pressed against his chest. His thoughts raced back to the violin case above his wardrobe. He had promised himself he would play again, but promises had a way of rotting when left too long unopened. He reached toward the silver light. It pulsed, responding to his indecision. In its glow, he saw Leah, the only girl who had ever waited for him to step onto a stage. He remembered the way she had said, "You're more than you allow yourself to be," and how he had smiled but done nothing. Elias's hand faltered. His breath came sharp and ragged. The keeper's voice lowered, almost kind. One regret erased. Elias, that is all I offer. But remember, every gift carries its shadow. The crow gave a warning cry, but it was too late. Elias's fingers brushed the floating minute. The instant his skin met the light, the hall twisted. Candles burned backward, flames sinking into wicks. Hourglasses emptied and filled at once. The mirrors rippled until only one image remained. Elias, younger, standing on a stage under blinding light. A crowd waited in silence. The violin rested against his shoulder. His bow hand shook. The silver minute hovered at the boy's feet, waiting to be claimed. The keeper's voice echoed like thunder through water. There is your chance. Take it. Play. Elias staggered closer to the mirror. His heart hammered, as though it remembered the moment too well. His reflection raised its eyes. The boy he once was, terrified and trembling. Play. Elias whispered, tears burning his eyes. Please, play this time. And the boy in the mirror lifted the bow. Part 5. The note that split the world. The boy in the mirror pressed the violin under his chin. The bow hovered, shaking above the strings. Elias leaned forward, heart pounding, the silver minute burning like a star between them. Then, at last, the boy played. The first note rose trembling, raw and imperfect, but alive. The sound carried like fire through glass, echoing across the mirror hall. Every reflection rippled, bending under the weight of that fragile melody. Elias gasped. He could feel it, not just hear it, the vibration running down his bones as though the violin were inside him all along. The boy grew steadier, his bow carving courage from silence. One note became another, then a phrase, then a piece of Elias remembered practicing in secret when no one was home. The hall filled with it, pure and aching, a song of a child who had feared too much and now, at last, refused to fear at all. Elias fell to his knees. Tears blurred his vision. This was the moment he had begged time to return, the night he had hidden in the wings, too frightened to walk on stage, too ashamed to lift his bow. That single absence had shadowed every year since. And now it was rewritten. The silver minute pulsed, then dissolved into music, vanishing into the boy's performance. The missing time was no longer missing. It had been claimed. The keeper watched silently, his face unreadable. The crow fluttered to the floor, its feathers shedding faint sparks that melted into the stone. When the final note faded, the mirror cracked. A single line split down its center, jagged and glowing. The boy in the reflection lowered his violin, smiling with a relief Elias had never seen on his own face. Then the image shattered into shards of light, each fragment flying outward into the shadows. The hall groaned as if wounded. Hourglasses toppled, spilling sand that flowed upward into nothing. The candles flickered wildly, some burning black. Elias staggered back. What's happening? The keeper's voice was calm, too calm. You have rewritten the page. A single minute, restored where it was denied. But every change has a cost. Do you not feel it? Elias's chest ached. His memories twisted. Flickers of new paths where he had played that night. Applause thundered. Leah's hand gripped as tightly. A teacher smiled with pride. And yet, other memories bent out of shape, dissolving into haze. He could no longer recall the exact day he had first seen Leah, nor the words of his father's warning. Something was unraveling. Even as something else was reborn, the crow let out a cry, harsh and sorrowful. Its feathers flared with words Elias almost understood. One chance taken, another lost. Elias turned to the keeper, desperate. Did I make a mistake? The keeper only tilted his head, eyes glinting like moving stars. Mistakes are not mine to judge. You wished to play, and you did. But remember, boy, time does not give. It trades. The mirrors around them shattered one by one, releasing storms of broken images. People Elias had never known dissolve before his eyes. Bells rang far above, wrong and dissonant, as the tower groaned. And through the chaos, a door appeared where no door had been, a tall arch of iron and flame, leading upward. The keeper raised a hand toward it. The town waits for its chime. The world waits for its order. And you, Elias, must now walk where few dare, the path of consequence. Elias clutched the silver key, though it no longer glowed. His breath caught in his throat. The music still echoed in his chest, sweet and bitter. And then he stepped toward the door. Part 6, The Town That Forgot. The iron door opened without a sound. Elias stepped through, and at once the hall of mirrors vanished behind him. He emerged into Willow Square, but it was not the square he knew. The clock tower loomed above, its hands frozen at 2:07. The chime was silent, yet people moved through the streets as though nothing were wrong, except they walked strangely, pausing mid-step, blinking too slowly, speaking words that melted before they finished. A woman laughed, but the sound stretched too long, like a record slowing down. A child dropped a toy and never bent to pick it up, staring at the ground as though she had forgotten what hands were for. Elias shivered. What happened to them? The crow fluttered out of the iron door and perched on his shoulder. Its feathers glowed faintly, spelling words he almost understood. The minute is missing from them now. His chest tightened. He had claimed the moment for himself, and the town had paid the price. The keeper's voice drifted through the square, though the figure was nowhere to be seen. Every gain is also a theft, Elias. You played your note, but in doing so, you stole time from all who needed it. Their lives hesitate, unfinished, waiting for a chime that will not come. A boy bumped into Elias, eyes wide and blank, holding a loaf of bread that had turned stiff and stale in his hands. "Mister," the boy whispered, "what day is it?" "I can't remember." Elias's throat ached. He wanted to answer, but the truth twisted inside him. He could no longer name the exact day either. His own memories had bent when he touched the minute, and now the town was bending with him. Far above, the frozen clock face cracked, a jagged line splitting its glass. Dust rained from the tower like snow. The crow dug its talons into his shoulder and let out a cry that pierced the stillness. The words shimmered again across its feathers. Return what's missing, or lose more. Elias staggered, gripping the silver key. "But I can't. I already used it. It's gone." The keeper's voice answered, close this time, right behind him. "Gone from your hand, yes, but not from your heart. The minute lives in you now. To restore it, you must surrender what you gained." Elias froze. He knew what that meant. The boy on the stage, the violin lifted, the note that had changed everything. He would have to give it back. To erase the moment he had just rewritten. His stomach twisted. To let the town breathe again, he would have to silence himself. To let the clock strike, he would have to become the boy of almost once more. The townsfolk drifted like shadows around him, caught between seconds, waiting for his choice. Above them, the clock groaned louder, its frozen hands trembling as though in pain. The keeper stepped in the crowd at last, eyes burning. "Elias, time does not forgive debts. It only waits to be paid. What will you choose? Your song or their lives?" The crow spread its wings, scattering feathers like sparks, and the square held its breath. Elias's hands shook around the key. His heart still carried the echo of the note he had finally played. And now the world demanded silence. Part 7. The silence before the chime. The square hung in eerie stillness. Candles flickered in windows though no wind blew, and the people of Willow drifted like marionettes whose strings had been cut. The air itself seemed to lean toward Elias, waiting. The silver key seared his palm hotter than before. He knew what it wanted. Surrender. The minute he had claimed still pulsed inside his chest, glowing like an ember of stolen fire. To return it meant losing everything he had just won. The courage, the music, the memory of playing at last. The keeper's voice folded into the silence. Every heart must decide, Elias. Will you be a single song, or will you be a city's breath? Elias closed his eyes. He heard again the boy's trembling bow, the applause that had thundered in a rewritten memory. He saw Leah's face lit by pride instead of pity. He felt the impossible sweetness of what it meant to not fail. His whole life had leaned toward that one regret, and now he had undone it. To get it back felt like drowning after learning how to breathe. The crow croaked sharply, its feathers flaring with words. Your silence is their silence. He opened his eyes. A mother stood frozen mid-step near the fountain, her hand outstretched toward her child. The boy stared at her, lost, as if he no longer knew who she was. Elias's throat tightened. These were not strangers. These were his people. The baker who slipped him extra bread, the librarian who saved him quiet corners, the neighbors who nodded when words were too heavy. Their lives were tangled with his own, stitched into fabric of the same hour. Slowly, Elias lifted the key to his chest. The heat pulsed harder, matching heartbeat. The keeper stepped closer, voice low and grave. If you turn it now, your note will be erased. You will be the boy of almost again. Your stage will be silence. Tears welled hot in Elias's eyes. Then let it be my silence, not theirs. The words tore from him like a wound. He turned the key. At once, a burning thread unwound from his chest. The silver minute pulled free like a vein of light. Agony shuddered through him, but he held fast, forcing it out until it hovered before him once more, pulsing with cold purity. The square inhaled. The mother blinked, finished her step, gathered her child. The baker's stall filled with the smell of warm bread again. Laughter fluttered, voices returned, the town's rhythm stumbling back into place. Above them, the clock tower's hands lurched forward, striking the long-forgotten chime. Elias fell to his knees, gasping. The memory of the performance, his bow, his song, the applause, was already dissolving, retreating into shadow as though it had never happened. The stage was gone. The boy was silent once more. The keeper knelt before him, eyes unreadable. You chose him over yourself. Few ever do. And yet, he reached out, brushing a finger across Elias's damp cheek. Even silence can echo. Remember that. The crows circled overhead, feathers scattering words Elias could not hold on to. The silver minute drifted upward, returning to the tower, vanishing into its gears with a sound like a sigh. The clock's chime rolled across the square, rich and whole, as though time itself had forgiven him. Elias pressed his trembling hands to the ground. He had saved the town, but he had lost the song. Or had he? Somewhere deep inside, beneath the ache of surrender, a faint resonance lingered. Not the memory of applause, but the memory of courage. The boy who had lifted the bow, even if only in a stolen fragment of time. Perhaps that was not erased after all. Part 8. The song that remained. The clock's chime faded into the night, steady and whole once more. Willow Square filled with voices, laughter, footsteps, life flowing again as if the pause had never happened. People walked past Elias without noticing him kneeling there, his chest still raw from a minute torn free. He pressed his palms into the cobblestones, trembling. The boy on the stage, the song, the applause, it was gone, stolen back by time. He was once again the boy who had never played. His heart ached with the emptiness of it. The keeper stood over him, cloaked in starlight. You surrendered the song, he said softly. And yet, you still listen for it, don't you? Elias lifted his head. The night was quiet except for the normal sounds of town life. Yet beneath them, he heard something else. Not a full melody, but a hum, faint as breath. A single note, steady, waiting. He looked down at his hands. Though the silver minute was gone, the echo of it vibrated faintly through his fingertips. His silence was not complete. The courage remained. The crow landed beside him, eyes sharp, feathers glowing with words he finally understood. What you played is not lost. It is inside you. The realization struck him with gentle force. Time had taken back the minute. Yes, but the act of choosing, the moment he had dared to lift a bow, could not be erased. That courage was forever, not borrowed from a stolen fragment, but forged in the fire of loss and sacrifice. He rose slowly, unsteady but awake. The keeper watched with unreadable eyes. Do you see now, Elias? Time does not give back what is gone, but it can teach you how to begin again. The violin case came into his mind, dusty and waiting atop his wardrobe. For years it had been a coffin of silence. Now, perhaps it could be a cradle. Elias whispered, half to himself, half to the stars. Then I will play, not the boy I was, not the stage I lost, but here, now. The keeper inclined his head, the faintest smile touching his lips. Then you have learned what most never do, that the true minute is always this one. The crow cawed once, spreading its wings. The square was ordinary again, people living their unbroken lives. Yet Elias felt the extraordinary pulsing within him, quiet but indestructible. He turned toward the path home, the weight of the keys still in his pocket. Not to open doors of the past anymore, but to unlock the music waiting in the present. Above, the clock struck again, perfectly on time. And for the first time, Elias walked not with regret, but with rhythm. Dear learner, this was the final part of Elias's journey. His story teaches us that sometimes we cannot rewrite the past, but we can still choose courage in the present. Notice how the language moved between simple past, he rose, he whispered, he walked, and present truth. The true minute is always this one. That shift mirrors his own discovery. An idiom worth remembering. Time does not give, it trades. It shows that every choice has a cost, but also a gift. Another phrase, a cradle, not a coffin, teaching us that what we thought was dead can become a beginning. To practice, can you retell Elias's final choice in your own words? How would you describe the difference between losing a dream and finding courage? What do you think the story's lesson is about living in the present? Thank you for staying until the end. If this story touched you, please subscribe, like, and share so others can learn English through story and through heart. Now, tell me in the comments, if you could reclaim just 1 minute from your past, which would it be and why?